Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Tom Johnson begins now.
Good evening. A Tasmanian surgeon has lost a bid to put a temporary halt on the state's mandatory vaccination order in the Supreme Court. The rules are scheduled to come into effect on Sunday. For more, Meg Sides joins us now. And Meg, what happens now?
Well, Tom, no jab, no job. That's the reality facing healthcare workers come this Sunday. That includes surgeon David Dunn, with the deadline now looming. He's challenging the order in court, today arguing for an urgent injunction, wanting to temporarily suspend the order until the matter can be heard. That was denied late this afternoon by Chief Justice Blow.
It will be heard, which is fantastic. Unfortunately, the injunction couldn't be granted, which is a real shame. So it's a bittersweet victory.
The matter will now be heard next Thursday, but as of 12:01 this Sunday, all healthcare workers who aren't vaccinated or have provided evidence of an exemption will lose their jobs. Around 97% of Tasmanian health employees have complied.
But make no mistake, no jab, no job. Unfortunately, that's the circumstance that we're in. I'm certain that we will follow through with each and every person that does book in for vaccination to ensure that they have met the requirements of the direction.
And Tom, today we also heard that the order will be extended to disability support workers. They'll now have to have the vaccination by November 21.
Huon Aquaculture will soon be in foreign hands, with Brazilian meat giant JBS winning shareholder approval to take over the company. While the news was welcomed in some quarters, environmentalists have vowed to keep fighting their presence along Tasmanian coastlines.
Out in the Hobart Wet, this passionate crowd was making one final stand against JBS. Calling for Huon shareholders to reject the multi-million-dollar takeover bid.
We are inviting in a globally noted, corrupted multinational.
We're here to say don't do it to the shareholders. Don't sell out to JBS. They are a disreputable company and we want to protect our Tasmanian coastline.
But they were swimming against an overwhelming tide, with the Brazilian giant reeling in the aquaculture company. Despite a campaign from billionaire Andrew Forrest, more than 90% of shareholders who voted agreed to the deal at the AGM. Huon chairman Neil Kearney says the transaction will secure the future for the company, its workforce and local suppliers, while JBS is committed to upholding the highest environmental standards and undertaking sustainable farming practices. The government is confident its laws will protect the environment.
The rules and regulations, what applies in Tasmania is very rigorous, it's world class, it's a sustainable salmon industry. We have a plan to make that extend.
Financial experts say Huon shareholders are the big winners.
The offer price of $3.85 from JBS was a significant premium to the Huon share price prior to the approach.
While defeated today, environmentalists say their fight is far from over.
As you can see from the people here, it merely makes us more determined to go on fighting this industry.
John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
Authorities have been called into action to save 2 teenagers from floodwaters. SES volunteers pulled the 2 girls from the Elizabeth River in Campbelltown around 7 p.m. last night.
They were actually holding on to the willow trees at a point in the centre of the river. And there was a good cohesive effort there amongst emergency services in a very dynamic situation to undertake the rescue of those 2 individuals.
They were taken to the Campbelltown Hospital for observation but suffered no injuries. Strong winds and heavy rain kept the SES busy overnight, with 41 call-outs in the 24 hours to 2 p.m. A Burnie filmmaker has been crowned Tasmania's Australian of the Year for 2021. Craig Leeson winning the award for his advocacy for climate change and his charity work. Speaking from Glasgow, where he is attending the United Nations Climate Summit, the journalist says he's proud to win something in front of his family.
Craig's first feature-length documentary.
I have very deep footprints to follow. My parents have both have the Order of Australia medal, so I've been to their award ceremonies. So I'm so glad that they could come to one that I'm a part of.
The Australian of the Year will be announced in January. Virgin has resumed its Hobart to Perth service just in time for the summer tourism season. The route had been on ice since March 2020, but is now set to operate 3 times per week, increasing to daily over the holiday period.
This seasonal service will allow thousands of passengers a month to enjoy the wonders of Hobart's Salamanca markets or take a swim at Perth's iconic Cottesloe Beach.
Virgin says 4,200 passengers a month will use the service. Tasmania's seafood producers are hoping a new website will direct hungry tourists right to their doors. Following in the footsteps of tasting trails, wine drives and other self-directed tourism, the industry wants travellers to taste all Tasmania has to offer.
The disappearance of international tourism brought a rather salty surprise for the crew at Mel's Shell Oyster Shack.
We lost a lot of custom immediately and found when we did trial reopening, when things opened for the domestic market, that the popularity of raw seafood wasn't as high.
Like many, they took the time to tweak their offerings and renovate. Now gearing up for tourists once more, they're working on reeling in more customers.
We are perceived to be just so clean. And that obviously reflects into our seafood. People think it is safe, they know that it's from a clean environment.
To help travellers tuck into more tasty Tassie tucker, the Seafood Industry Council has launched the Seafood Trails website, taking them to the state's best seafood spots.
There's just one prerequisite for them to be accepted on the site, is they must have a reasonable offering of Tasmanian seafood.
The state government now kicking in $150,000 with hungry tourists coming back.
This is about promoting Tasmanian seafood to not just Tasmanians, mainlanders, but the rest of the world.
Producers saying the idea is a pearl.
Rather than a consumer having to scroll through what farms are in this area, they will be able to just go to that app, find what they are looking for.
And hoping it brings more customers to their door for a shucking good feed. Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
Organisers of Taste's new summer spin-off expect 10,000 tickets will be snapped up by Sunday. The festival's diverse food lineup has been pinned down with cuisine from all corners of Tasmania and the world. However, tight COVID restrictions mean only 80 stallholders are allowed this year.
The selection process and the curation process was very, very careful, and we're delighted that we've got the best of Tasmanian produce.
The Taste of Summer will begin in late December and run into the new year. After a 2-year COVID hiatus, artists and producers have descended on Deloraine for the 40th anniversary of the Tasmanian Craft Fair. Despite some restrictions curbing stall numbers, local artisans are relishing the opportunity to put their hard work on display.
From baby wear to bonsais, quilts to quirky furniture and garments to guitars. Homemade heaven in Deloraine from the best homegrown creators. The Tasmanian Craft Fair back in full view after a year in the COVID wilderness, and not even the weather could scare away the public.
I was amazed at 9 o'clock people were standing in queues in the rain, so that was great.
This year holds extra significance, the 40th anniversary of an event that began on a small scale and has transformed into a 4-day town takeover. A milestone exhibition is showcasing the artists here from the very start. Ian Clare's first taste was in 1984. Even now, pottery is still his main focus.
It's got very popular over the last probably 5 or 6 years.
An art practice certainly less hair-raising than this. Bill Flowers paints with snakes alongside him. In 3 decades, he's never been bitten.
Because the snake can just twist and turn and bend its body in any sort of shape, it just makes it very easy for a composition.
This year's craft fair is very different to previous editions. Masks are mandatory and border bans mean only 170 stallholders have set up shop. Still, the place is teeming with creativity.
There's so many different ideas that people have come up with about how to do things, and really high-end things too, like a guitar maker and the fine furniture guy just along the way, you know.
Wooden bars.
And wooden bars, yeah.
And artisans hope it will pay off in exposure and sales.
Just being able to connect face-to-face with people is really important.
Garth Burley, 7 Tasmania News.
A Hobart radio duo has gone under the razor to raise funds for men's health. Hit 100.9's Jimmy and Nath had their final shave for a month today at a local barbershop. They're taking part in the Movember campaign, which encourages men to grow moustaches for the duration of next month. It's a cause close to both of their hearts.
Myself, I struggle with depression, and I probably wouldn't have got help and got onto antidepressants and seen a psychologist if it wasn't for Movember.
We're absolutely pumped to be ambassadors and I guess help out with men's health and stop men dying too young.
To support their efforts, visit the Mobart Mobros website.
A sporting declaration has opened the door for Tasmania on what's set to be a thrilling final day in the Sheffield Shield. After the Tigers were skilled for just 182 in the first innings, the Bulls refused to enforce the follow-on, instead making a quick-fire total before declaring. Chasing 438 to win, Tim Ward and Caleb Jewell combined for a 118-run stand before Ward was dismissed for 54. The Tigers are 1 for 127 at stumps. The Hurricanes will be out to settle the score in tomorrow's WBBL clash against the Heat. The side says more consistency from the top order is needed if they're to make it 2 wins on the trot. South African import Mignon du Preez says her drought-breaking half-century against the Stars was a relief.
I've not really gotten the start that I would have liked in the tournament, but I think to finally be able to contribute and in the manner I did and help the team to get another win on the board was really special.
Utah Stadium will host a Hurricanes doubleheader on Saturday and Sunday. Aaron Cornelius has been named as Glenorchy's new coach. The 31-year-old who guided the Magpies to their last grand final triumph in 2016 will replace Paul Kennedy in the role. Veteran Josh Arnold has been named playing assistant coach. The A-League men's competition will make a comeback to Tasmania this upcoming season, with Western United returning to the state. Utah Stadium will host 2 matches in the space of 3 days next April. United will host Perth Glory on April 16, followed by Macarthur FC on April 19. The season will get underway on November 19. And tonight's Friday flashback is to an obscure comeback journey. In 1988, after 3 years in retirement, iconic paceman Dennis Lilly moved to Tasmania to revive his cricket career and made an impact from his very first ball.
The man they called DK had conquered a bowler's ultimate goal.
That is the record.
Becoming Test cricket's leading wicket-taker, surpassing the mark set by West Indian Lance Gibbs. But his twilight years saw him unable to crack the Shield side in his native WA. So he adopted Tasmania, his comeback to be in Devonport, his first ball, a wicket. For the trivia buffs, Andrew Hilditch fell foul of this famous delivery, but the Shield match would be dominated by South Australia, in particular the late David Hooks, who smashed a century. Part-time bowler Errol Harris later said he was pulled aside by Lilly on this day and told to hold the ball across the seam. He ended up with 4 for, including 1 caught by their star recruit. A hit with the fans, DK was part of a golden era for Tasmanian imports. Englishman Jack Simmons was flown in throughout the 70s. We had the West Indies Winston Davis too, and New Zealand superstar Richard Hadley.
Wrapped on the pad, a confident appeal from the slips cordon and also Richard Hadley. A little bit of Dennis Lilly about that appeal.
Although DK lasted only a single season in the Shield side, he was a frequent visitor, guiding the next crop of pace bowlers in his post-playing days.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of technical problems, not just here, but in all over the world with fast bowling. We're getting these mixed actions.
His offsider Rodney Hogg's advice was a little more practical.
Try and bowl quick and try and, hit a few blokes in the throat. That's what the game's about, isn't it?
Whatever the game's about, DK was among its most popular players. Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmanian News.
Good evening. Flinders Island's 22 the top today after Mount Wellington dropped to -1 overnight. Hobart just 8 degrees, Launceston 12, Burnie 13, Devonport 14. Most temperatures between 5 and 10 below average. St Helens 14 today, King Island 13, 12 at Low Head, Ouse 10, Strawn 9 degrees and Lyawini a low of 1 and a top of 1. Cape Grim our highest 24-hour rainfall with 60 millimetres and between 9 and 3 today. Tunnock the top with 28 millimetres. And that was the big story, of course, all the wind and rain that swept through today. All the cloud there circulating around a low over our region. An active area of cloud is also across northern Australia, linked to a more uniform band of cloud extending over the Tasman Sea, and of course all that action over us. Tomorrow, a trough moves just to our west, another links Western Australia to Queensland, a high tracks over the Bight. Winds west to southwesterly up to 25 knots, but to 35 knots over the east. Swells at 3 to 3.5 metres. Gale warning from St Helens Point to South East Cape has been issued. A strong wind warning from Sandy Cape to St Helens Point and also from South East Cape to Low Rocky Point. A major flood warning for the Macquarie River. Moderate flood warnings for the Jordan and Derwent, but keep your eyes on the Bureau's website for changes. A bushwalkers alert for the Western and Central Plateau districts. A warning to sheep graziers for the east and south. Forecast for tomorrow. Hobart, a shower or two clearing, 15 the top, just 11 for Medina, a shower or two clearing from Oatlands. Launceston looking for a top of 16 and partly cloudy. Devonport 15, -3 for Lyowini, showers and a bit of snow at times tomorrow there. Burnie, a possible shower and 15, 14 the top for Strawn, showers easing from Marrawar, 13 the maximum. St Helens 16, becoming cloudy, an afternoon shower for Swansea, maybe 15 the top and 15 for Orford. UV at a high 7 for tomorrow. On to Sunday, showers over the west and far south, partly cloudy for the rest of the state. To Monday, and a mostly fine, partly cloudy day, a light shower over the west. And on Tuesday, early patchy fog, followed by a mostly fine day. Sunny in Perth, partly cloudy for Adelaide, a shower clearing from Melbourne, partly cloudy for Canberra and Sydney, showers and stormy weather over Brisbane. And cloudy conditions at the moment, 8 degrees in Hobart, 11 in Launceston, 12 in Devonport. And also let's hope the weather in Melbourne tomorrow will be suiting the Tasmanian horses. Still a Star and Mystic Journey in the Group 1 Empire Rose at Flemington. Good luck to respective trainers Bill Ryan and Adam Trinder. If Still a Star wins, the owners will pocket a $1 million bonus. Now I know Ron, who's one of the owners of Still a Star, and even if they win the $1 million, Tom, he won't even shout a beer, a bit like you.
He knows how to save money, good on him. We'll leave it there for now. I'll be back later on with updates. Thanks so much for joining us this Friday evening. Good night.